A lot of people search the internet for mind map examples and tips, and that's great, provided they're getting them from Tony Buzan, most especially when you've read his book, Mind Map Mastery. Why read this book? Well, first of all, no one else alive has thought so thoroughly through this incredible technique for externalizing the brain and interacting with it. Even better, no one else has shown so thoroughly how a proper mind map boosts creativity, how mind mapping as a practice improves memory, and how the process of mind mapping sets you mentally free. More on that in a bit. But above all, Tony Buzan provides a number of laws or rules that, when followed, produce more ideas than you have ever imagined possible. You want to learn more? Buckle up and hit thumbs up, because we're getting started with my favorite of Buzan's mind mapping laws right now. Hello Magnetic Memorizers, this is Anthony Metivier from magneticmemorymethod.com. If you're new here and want to join us, get started now by subscribing to this channel and enabling notifications so you don't miss a thing. And oh, if you love the memory tradition, make sure to hit that thumbs up and help me spread the good news about memory improvement and accelerated learning by sharing this one around. Now, the first law of mind mapping I love is that mind maps should have a central image. Why? Well, as Buzan explains, without a central image, your mind map has no focus. He recommends this image have at least 3 colors. And without color, the mind map lacks power. I mean, just imagine going on a walk through nature in black and white. It doesn't happen. Nature has color. So why wouldn't you benefit from using color in your mind mapping? Your brain comes from nature too, right? And yet so many people just use black and white. Worse, they use a lot of straight lines. For example, the fishbone diagram built from straight lines has nothing to do with the curves of human thought. Concept maps are usually overloaded with words, and I was often guilty of exactly this issue. As a result, my mind maps quickly became unwieldy, awkward, and collapsed. Without care for balance and distribution, not having balance and a concentrated central image gives you no place to focus. With no concentration point or focal point, such mind maps do not help your brain create new solutions or remember more. Now, I used to combine all kinds of styles in a haphazard manner, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. We all learn by doing and continuing to study from the masters. And if there ever was a master mind mapper, it's Tony Buzan. After all, he created not only hugely impactful books using mind mapping, but also improved lives around the world by co-creating the World Memory Championships. These events have positively promoted mental literacy for more than a quarter of a century now, all over the world, inspiring all kinds of new discoveries in memory training and creative problem solving. To that end, and this is not repetition of a point we just covered, my second favorite law is that the central image should feature at least 3 colors. It's a subtle point and one that I've missed many times. Now, choosing colors can create a bit of decision anxiety. Questions like these might arise. Which color should I use? Is green really appropriate for this idea? What if I make a mistake? I've trained myself not to get hung up on such questions and just follow the guidelines, which is why guidelines are so valuable. I believe that the little pause switching colors creates, provided you don't get hung up on all these questions, gives your brain a little rest. And this is one of the reasons why more ideas flow in. It's a kind of stress and release procedure. Memory expert and competitor Dave Farrow and I talk about this in our interview on the Magnetic Memory Method podcast, so check that out sometime. My third favorite law is that your branches should flow and taper. If you look at an image of your brain's neural networks, you'll see precisely the tapering Buzan wants you to benefit from when creating your mind maps. Phil Chambers has some great material on how to get the most out of your branches in 101 Top Tips for Better Mind Maps. You can model mine or follow up with his suggestions. In brief, I think the same principle applies here as with color. By taking a bit of time to make interesting branches, you take a bit of stress off the process, and this allows more ideas to come in. It's alternating between structure and flow, concentration and diffuse thinking that memory experts have long known help us remember more. Memory expert Barbara Oakley has talked a lot about how this works in Learning How to Learn, both the book and the video course. Speaking of Barbara, I want to quickly feature a comment from John Eric, who thanked me recently for mentioning her work on this channel. He wrote, I really like how she mentioned the diffuse mode and focus mode of the brain. John also sent me an old-fashioned check to donate to the magnetic memory method cause. I pause on this point because I mind map what we're talking about right now on this channel in the presence of Tony Buzan and Phil Chambers. At that time, I was so afraid to get on camera, as I am now, for reasons we can discuss some other day, but I dedicated myself to overcoming that hurdle, and mind mapping was a huge help. Even though I had only started mind mapping according to these laws while training for memory and mind mapping with Buzan and Chambers, the effect of that one mind map alone persists to this day. And when I see you guys supporting this initiative, I'm honored, humble, and grateful. And I want you to know that one of the reasons it's happening has to do with how following Buzan's mind mapping laws makes it possible to focus and be consistent. It seems to change something in your brain, and it amazes me to no end when I see your mind maps of the magnetic memory method teaching with me as the central image, in 3 colors no less. This one was made by Antonio Libertino after seeing me speak live in Berlin. I mind map weekly to come up with the content for this channel and keep my mind maps in sight, sometimes for weeks, so that I don't get off track when working on huge projects like the recent brain exercise bootcamp. Here's how I kept the mind map for that course in my view at all times. Sure, it's not the way we normally think of mind mapping for better memory, but the reality is if I don't see my projects in front of my face each and every day until they're done, I get distracted. Big, colorful, and well-balanced mind maps that follow Tony Buzan's laws have been so helpful for keeping my eyes on the goals. Likewise, for our community, Jurgalem in our Magnetic Memory Method Mastermind group often mind maps and shares the sessions so that everyone can remember what we talked about at a glance. Plus, I love seeing Magnetic Memory Method students like Keko come up with new variations like this seashell mind map dedicated to my training. And you know what else? I love combining mind mapping with a memory palace technique using a simple process that we'll talk about in the 3rd and final video of this series. So in sum, I thank John, Antonio, Keko, and everyone who sends in their support in whatever ways you can. You make these videos possible, and until part 3 of this series, and we talk about how to turn your mind maps into memory palaces, thanks as ever for the view. Hit that thumbs up for the love of memory, and let's keep the conversation about mind mapping laws going down below. And until part 3 of this series, enjoy mind mapping, learn all 10 of the rules on the Magnetic Memory Method blog, and like I always say, keep yourself magnetic.